The story of Kazusa begins with a twist of fate. A camping trip he had eagerly anticipated ends abruptly in tragedy when he meets with a fatal accident. Awakening in a forest, he realizes he's been reincarnated into another world. Despite the wonder of his surroundings, he knows survival takes precedence over awe. Scanning his possessions, a towel, a stainless steel bento box, a cutter, and 2 plastic bottles, he understands the immediate need for water. Luckily, he finds a pristine stream, its purity offering a lifeline. Crafting a makeshift shelter from the bottles, he grapples with unfamiliar flora and fauna, drawing on his knowledge gleaned from camping videos. His first attempt at securing sustenance proves fruitful as he traps freshwater creatures. However, the challenge lies in preparing them safely. With a stroke of luck, he discovers an innate ability to sense poison, a gift from his newfound existence. This revelation emboldens him, offering hope amidst uncertainty. As days pass, Kazusa explores his newfound abilities. He discovers a skill he dubs hardening, allowing him to withstand physical harm. Experimenting further, he learns he can absorb the abilities of creatures he consumes, a power he terms eating. With each discovery, Kazusa grows more determined to thrive in V. Though the path ahead is fraught with danger, he faces it with newfound resilience and a hunger for survival. Survival in this alien realm had taught him 3 crucial truths. First, he possessed a remarkable ability to detect poisons, a skill that proved invaluable yet not infallible. Secondly, his attempts at acquiring new abilities through consumption had been futile since his arrival. Crafting tools like his makeshift axe had become essential for his survival. Thirdly, the enigmatic allure of the tree nearby, with its deceptive fruit, served as a perilous trap for unsuspecting creatures. Despite the danger lurking within its branches, he managed to catch a rabbit-like creature, realizing that his own allure skill made him appear as a delectable prey. With cautious skill, he prepared the animal for consumption, craving the taste of meat seasoned with salt. Amidst his solitude, a human voice shattered the silence, pleading for aid. Despite the risks, his innate hardening ability urged him to investigate. To his relief, he discovered a girl lying near the alluring tree. With a mix of apprehension and duty, he carried her to his shelter, where she soon regained consciousness. As they shared an unconventional meal, their mutual inability to communicate verbally underscored the language barrier. Yet, through unexpected means, she revealed her understanding of Japanese, easing the tension between them. Clara, as she introduced herself, shared her plight of seeking medicinal herbs and expressed gratitude for his timely intervention. With her injuries requiring time to heal, Clara faced the dilemma of returning to her village, situated beyond treacherous mountains. Sensing her apprehension, he offered sanctuary until she recuperated fully. Though her self-doubt clouded her judgment, he reassured her of his intentions, vowing to protect her until she could venture homewards safely. In this unforgiving world, their unlikely alliance held promise amidst uncertainty, forging bonds of trust in the face of adversity. As they shared their discoveries, he found solace in her presence, having been isolated for so long. With her by his side, he relished the opportunity to explore a myriad of ingredients, savoring each one gradually. His words brought tears of joy to her eyes, reassured by his optimism about their future and her eventual guidance to her village once she recovered from her injury. They decided to call it a day as Clara rested and he took a moment to gaze at the sky, pondering what lay ahead. In the following scene, he found himself amidst the forest on a quest for something intriguing. Spotting fruits dangling from a tree, he effortlessly plucked them, marveling at his newfound strength in this world. Speculating whether his enhanced vigor stemmed from indulging in delicious fare, he sampled the fruit, finding it apple-like yet less sweet. His attention then turned to the blue leaves he'd encountered earlier, which surprisingly offered a sweet taste. Collecting a bunch for Clara, he continued his exploration, stumbling upon a breathtaking landscape. Surveying the rocks, inspiration struck, and he sampled one, discovering its saltiness akin to sea salt. Pondering future harvests from the nearby sea, he gathered some shells atop the rocks, intrigued by their presence in the mountains. Unfazed by their unfamiliarity, he reasoned that their composition likely differed from seashells, dismissing concerns of toxicity. With a trove of newfound treasures in hand, he eagerly returned to Clara, who welcomed him warmly. Displaying his findings, he shared his ability to discern poison in food, prompting Clara's interest in rare items. She identified the blue leaves as mana herb, prized for its magical properties. Astonished by its value, he learned that consuming it could enhance magical abilities. Eager to assist Clara, he suggested they partake together, banishing her self-doubt with affirmations of her worth. As they savored the mana herb's effects, Clara expressed gratitude. Her magic rejuvenated. Intrigued by the salt rolls he'd discovered, he learned of their local popularity as a hunter's snack. Experimenting with cooking methods, he concocted a savory soup, dubbed Mountain Clear Soup, evoking nostalgia with its comforting aroma and hearty flavor. Reflecting on their culinary adventure, he pondered future experiments with the seashells, considering syrup or jam. Despite Clara's initial oversight, he recognized the vastness of their knowledge gap, bridging the disparity between Earth and this fantastical realm. Humbly seeking Clara's guidance, he embraced the opportunity to learn more about their surroundings, eager to navigate the challenges ahead. Accepted without hesitation, you couldn't help but wonder if she found it peculiar. Yet she brushed it off, mentioning that while it was an uncommon question, she didn't see any harm in asking about what he didn't know. In fact, she seemed to enjoy teaching. Grateful for her patience, you expressed your thanks, to which she humbly replied that she was simply happy to be of assistance. He was dedicated to his studies, even considering living in the mountains or forest if necessary. 3 days passed, and it became evident that you were learning at an impressive pace. Deciding to delve into simple magic with Clara, she was astonished by how quickly you grasped the concepts. The first spell she taught was translation magic, allowing them to understand each other down to the smallest nuance. Although Clara still struggled with concepts foreign to her world, she appreciated the effort. You inquired if it was acceptable to use magic for translation when needed for healing. Clara assured you that translation magic was a minimal drain on her soul's energy, easily accessible for such purposes. She explained that her ample magic reserves were usually tapped for healing, but your provision of delicious food had alleviated that need. Healing magic in her world was highly regarded, particularly for its ability to accelerate regrowth and stamina recovery. A mana-rich diet expedited magical recovery, explaining your vitality since arriving. Clara seemed to notice your robustness, but her expression shifted abruptly as her gaze fixed on something. Following her line of sight, you spotted a giant deer, the ferocious beast reigning over the mountain, having bested countless hunters. Realizing the danger, you quickly formulated a plan. With Clara visibly frightened, you urged her to follow as you led the charge. Employing your allure skill to divert the deer's attention, you readied yourself with your axe. Dodging the creature's thunderous charge required precision and focus. As it closed in, you strategized, aiming to exploit its momentum by luring it towards a tree. Timing was critical. A miscalculation could prove fatal. The tense standoff reached its climax as the deer hurtled toward you. Swiftly sidestepping, you watched as its antlers became ensnared in the tree trunk. Seizing the opportunity, you attacked, but your makeshift weapon barely scratched the beast. Just as hope waned, a stranger intervened, entrusting you with a formidable sword. Though the deer broke free, you remained resolute. With the borrowed blade in hand, you confronted the beast head-on. Summoning all your strength, you delivered a decisive blow, severing its head. As the adrenaline faded, you noticed a girl emerging from the shadows, her gaze fixed on you. Before you could react, she collapsed, murmuring softly. In the ensuing darkness, Clara wept tears of relief, grateful for your safety. Comforting her, you reassured her, reminding her it wasn't the first time you'd provided solace. Despite her gratitude, you cautioned against self-deprecation. Together, you prepared to feast on the spoils of victory, savoring the succulent meat of the vanquished deer. Clara marveled at the raw meat, prompting an explanation of the grilling process. Despite initial confusion, she eagerly awaited the culinary delight. The aroma wafting from the barbecue tantalized the senses, signaling a feast fit for champions. As they savored each bite, you couldn't shake a nagging thought. How could such a fierce creature yield such tender meat? Clara offered an explanation rooted in magic, attributing the exquisite flavor to the creature's abundant magical essence. Magic was the lifeblood of their world, infusing everything, including the very essence of its inhabitants. As understanding dawned, you expressed gratitude for her insight, eager to savor even more magical. As the feast continued, the girl stirred from her slumber, drawn by the tantalizing aroma. Overwhelmed by the exquisite flavors, she offered profuse thanks before succumbing to her primal urges. In her fervor, she forgot all formalities, but her genuine appreciation spoke volumes. Grateful for her unwitting assistance, you urged her to enjoy the feast. In the warm glow of the fire, amidst laughter and camaraderie, bonds were forged that transcended language and circumstance, and as the embers faded into the night, you couldn't help but feel a sense of kinship, a shared journey bound by fate and flavored by the magic of the unknown. The seasoning was exquisite, perfectly balanced, and the tenderness of the meat was just right, as she exclaimed. The concept of grilling each bite-sized piece individually while enjoying them was also met with approval. Clara backed up the notion, expressing her admiration. She then introduced herself as Kadia, a temple knight from Marus. Clara was taken aback by this revelation, but swiftly reassured them not to worry about her rank, emphasizing the noble service of temple knights across all lands. Kadia, filled with rare gratitude for such acknowledgement, acknowledged his own origins, considering himself an outsider from the boonies. Clara, seeking to foster camaraderie, inquired if she could address her as Katia, which received approval. Thus, they formed a bond of friendship. Clara, eager for conversation, ventured to ask Kadia about her age, unwittingly causing clarifying the prerequisite for becoming a temple knight. Clara gently reminded Kadia that one must be at least 18 years old. Kadia, though appearing youthful, affirmed her age at 19, visibly weary of being misconstrued as a child. Apologies ensued, with Clara expressing understanding and Kadia graciously accepting. Grateful for the offer of refuge, Kadia recounted her mission to investigate rumors of a dragon in the mountains. Despite the potential peril, she assured them it was merely a tale until proven otherwise. Hindered by misfortune and on the brink of starvation, Kadia found herself in dire straits. With her investigation temporarily halted, she deliberated her next move, acknowledging the risk of getting lost again. Offering sanctuary in their camp, Kadia proposed a mutually beneficial arrangement, providing sustenance and security in exchange for Kadia's combat prowess. After deliberation, Kadia accepted, cementing their newfound alliance. As the day drew to a close, preparations for rest were made, with Kadia graciously offering his makeshift bed to Kadia. In his absence, Clara commended his kindness, expressing joy at meeting Kadia. As night fell, thoughts of burgeoning friendship filled the air, with the promise of adventures yet to come. In the next chapter, Kadia and Kadia venture to the sea, where Kadia's enthusiasm for marine life becomes evident. Engaging in fishing without delay, they are met with an abundance of curious sea creatures. Amidst the tranquil waters, Kadia surprises with her choice of swimwear, while Kadia grapples with his own reservations. Diving beneath the surface, they encounter a simul fish whose startling defense mechanism leaves Kadia ailing. Undeterred, they continue their pursuit, with Kadia learning to exercise caution. Amidst the challenges of the sea, they persevere, capturing their prey and relishing the fruits of their labor. As they dry off, Kadia's curiosity leads to inquiries about the Badlands mentioned by Kadia. She elaborates on the treacherous regions unfit for human habitation, inhabited by formidable monsters. These creatures, including the dragon she sought, posed a threat to neighboring lands, warranting the intervention of temple knights. Their conversation meanders to the dangers and allure of the Badlands, prompting reflections on the sacrifices made by adventurers in pursuit of glory and gastronomic delights. With a shared sense of reverence for the unknown, they ponder the mysteries that await in the depths of the untamed wilderness. In the serene tranquility of the Temple Knight's domain, travel permissions were not readily granted, yet exceptions existed, especially for individuals of significance. However, straying into the perilous Badlands often resulted in presumed fatalities, which is why Kadia found solace in the peaceful scenery. Despite her familiarity with safe routes, she acknowledged the mountain's inherent dangers, a realization that provided her with a sense of security. Amidst the disaster, Kadia couldn't help but feel a peculiar connection with Yu, who exuded vitality even amidst chaos. She admired his resilience, which seemed to amplify life amidst the looming specter of death. Kadia, renowned for her combat prowess among the knights, sought independence, a trait she believed you could impart. Upon returning to camp, Clara greeted them eagerly, inquiring about their expedition. Despite the modest catch, they could feast well that day. Kadia displayed the results, though Clara couldn't see due to her oversight. The bubblins they caught offered a simple yet tantalizing prospect for grilling, a method born out of caution, allowing for quick escape when danger loomed. Clara pondered alternative cooking methods, to which you suggested pan-baking or deep drying, albeit with risks. As he contemplated, Kadia observed his composure, silently yearning for self-sufficiency. Yu's insight into the bubblin's physiology intrigued Kadia as he deftly removed parasites, ensuring safe consumption. His ability to discern threats amidst survival challenges impressed her, relieving the burden of food safety. As Yu prepared the meal, Kadia marveled at his skill, acknowledging the inevitable risks of consuming wild game. Yu's unique ability alleviated such concerns, allowing them to savor otherwise unattainable delicacies. Though Yu downplayed his culinary feat, Kadia couldn't help but appreciate his ingenuity. The ensuing meal, a blend of innovation and tradition, delighted the girls. Despite initial apprehensions, they embraced Yu's culinary creations, reveling in newfound flavors. As Yu savored each bite, the girls watched in awe, eventually succumbing to the irresistible allure of his cuisine. In the aftermath, as the girls praised his cooking prowess, Yu explained the concept of nutrient, likening it to mana, essence that replenishes magical energy. His explanation resonated, underscoring the harmony between sustenance and vitality in their world. For instance, they could recover from fatigue more easily, or they could serve as crucial components for blood production. There were numerous types of food with just as many benefits tied to them. You might recall the tale of an ill-fated expedition in a harsh, snow-covered land they managed to endure for many days solely by cooking the fish they caught beneath the icy sea. However, barring one individual, their native guide, all perished they succumbed to a dreadful disease. Blood seeped from their skin and their teeth fell out, a nightmarish spectacle known as scurvy. This terrifying illness stemmed from a deficiency of a vital nutrient called vitamin C. When asked why the guide was the sole survivor, he challenged them to deduce the difference between him and the rest. He dropped hints, indicating that the expedition members were consistently doing something before consuming the fish. Eventually, it was revealed that the guide consumed the fish raw, thereby retaining more nutrients, particularly vitamin C. The guide's survival underscored the importance of consuming vitamin C-rich foods to prevent scurvy. However, the fragility of vitamin C meant that traditional cooking methods could easily destroy it. Thus, the guide's accustomed diet of raw fish gave him an advantage. The conversation then delved into other sources of vitamin C, such as certain vegetables and fruits, like potatoes and citrus. Additionally, precautions against consuming raw fish were discussed, considering the risks of parasites and spoilage. As the discussion progressed, the focus shifted to the protagonist's newfound abilities, including the generation of foam imbued with magical properties. This unique capability held promise for various applications, from defensive measures to enhanced hunting strategies. Amidst planning their next steps, concerns arose over Kadia's deteriorating condition. It was revealed that her exhaustion stemmed from a chronic inability to sleep well in unfamiliar surroundings, exacerbated by her profound aversion to insects. Despite her reluctance to divulge this information, the group rallied to find a solution, mindful of the challenges posed by environmental factors in their mountainous habitat. As relief flooded her being upon their rescue, she felt fine that day when she encountered them. But once the initial flurry settled, worry crept in, a nagging thought that perhaps a bug still lurked. You had mentioned the possibility of remedying such pests, but she found it hard to believe. It might not be flawless, she reasoned, but any improvement would suffice. With the search for food concluded, he resolved to attempt his solution. They set about gathering supplies nearby, leaving Clara to keep watch over their temporary haven. Through the forest they roamed until he halted, proclaiming the spot suitable. Kadia, puzzled, asked what their next move would be. "We're building a house," he declared, instructing her to collect as many leaves as possible while he procured other materials. They commenced their labor. They toiled, prioritizing quality over quantity. Once enough wood, sticks, and leaves were amassed, they turned to gathering ivy, a vital component. After a diligent effort, they returned to camp, their task completed efficiently. Kadia, at his behest, began gathering wood of specific dimensions, unquestioning in her obedience. Clara longed to contribute, and at last her chance arrived. He assigned her a role, acknowledging a girl's aptitude for such tasks. With eagerness, she embraced her duty, and he began to demonstrate. Her nimble fingers swiftly split the leaves, impressing all with her skill. Returning with the wood, he joined in, aiding in leaf splitting. With each task completed, they moved closer to their goal. As the structure took shape, Kadia ensured its integrity, bridging any gaps. With the house finally erected, he fashioned a bed for Kadia using the remaining resources, a thoughtful solution to keep her elevated and insect-free. Their admiration for him swelled anew as they beheld his handiwork. Yet he remained modest, acknowledging his knowledge as but a fragment of a larger whole. He spoke of ancestral wisdom, of forgotten arts revived through necessity. His approach, though unconventional, yielded results surpassing tradition. Though Kadia found herself unfamiliar with much of his knowledge, she expressed gratitude for his guidance. As darkness descended, they convened for dinner, the next scene unfolding with Kadia's urgent warning of an approaching threat. They pursued the elusive prey, a spike turtle, its reputation preceding it. Despite its formidable defense, he triumphed, his skill evident. As they prepared the meat, discussion turned to its consumption. Though initially skeptical, they were won over by his culinary expertise. With each step of the cooking process, his ingenuity shone. The resulting dish, spike turtle tempura, belied its humble origins, delighting their palates. As they savored the meal, conversation turned to potential powers derived from such fare, sparking speculation and curiosity. In the aftermath, as they reflected on their meal, Clara mused on the potential for acquiring new abilities. He remained pragmatic, cautious in his experimentation. Yet, the allure of newfound powers lingered, a tantalizing prospect for the future. The idea she proposed, to combine both of our abilities simultaneously, resonated deeply with me. I couldn't help but wonder why I hadn't thought of it myself, even with my cheating ability. Grasping Clara's hand with gratitude, I expressed how incredible she was. She attempted to downplay her contribution, but I reminded her that her insight surpassed mine, and self-deprecation would only diminish her own worth. Kadia intervened, urging me to cease, while Clara's cheeks flushed crimson at the attention. Utilizing both our abilities, I successfully cultivated a root from the ground. We pondered how to test its capabilities safely, deciding on using leaves as makeshift plates. Placing a tiny leaf on the plant, spikes emerged from the ground upon contact, a truly remarkable skill, both potent and practical. Once again, I thanked Clara, just as a thunderous roar echoed through the... Gazing upward, we beheld a colossal dragon. Its presence left us awestruck, yet it made no aggressive move, merely soaring overhead. Overwhelmed, you collapsed, while Kadia expressed relief that we had gone unnoticed. However, this meant we couldn't linger, as the dragon likely considered this territory its own. Kadia insisted we depart promptly, and I inquired about Clara's condition, offering support. Clara, despite her injuries, insisted on being left behind, claiming it was for our safety. I vehemently opposed, labeling her suggestion foolish. Kadia echoed my sentiments, emphasizing the duty of knights to protect civilians and friends. Yet Clara persisted, citing her perceived lack of utility compared to us. I reassured her of her importance, highlighting how her presence had prevented my isolation and offering comfort. With Clara's resolve wavering, we embraced, reaffirming our solidarity. Resolved to continue together, we planned to set off the following day. Contemplating the encounter with the dragon, I sought assurance from Kadia, who outlined a strategy for engaging such a formidable foe. With a sense of purpose, we settled in for the night, preparing for the challenges ahead. Morning dawned, finding Kadia and me wary and apprehensive. Despite our unease, we pressed on, acknowledging the gravity of our task. As we journeyed, I reflected on the items I carried from Earth, once discarded, but now indispensable. Reluctantly, I left behind the tools I'd crafted in this world, clinging to the hope that my makeshift weapon would remain unused. Upon reaching a checkpoint, we paused to rest, marveling at the serene scenery. While the girls found it ordinary, I marveled at the unknown wonders of the village ahead. Clara's laughter broke my reverie, teasing me about my penchant for food. Despite feeling exposed, Kadia and Clara reassured me, celebrating my passion for cooking and its role in our survival. Grateful for their acceptance, I vowed to share my culinary knowledge once we reached the village. But our plans were interrupted by the reappearance of the dragon. Determined to face our adversary head-on, I steeled myself for the battle ahead, knowing that retreat was not an option. Though apprehensive, I was resolved to fight alongside my companions, come what may. As their chances hovered above absolute zero, they stood resolute, refusing to yield, even concocting strange justifications for their defiance. Clara offered up prayers as they confronted the dragon head-on. Now, it was time to devise a strategy. Knowing you possessed a sturdier defense than Kadia, he volunteered to draw the beast's attention up front, though Kadia found the risk alarming. Despite the danger, they saw no superior alternative. Reluctantly, Kadia acquiesced, and Clara summoned you, presenting him with the weapon he crafted, a spear fashioned from a deer's horn. As he grasped it, Clara assured him of its enchanted strength, her eyes glistening with tears. Faced with her unwavering resolve, he had no recourse but to promise his best effort. As the dragon roared once more, they sprang into action. Clara was instructed to retreat to safety while you engaged the dragon, diverting its focus as planned. Kadia, meanwhile, sought an opening. Yu steeled himself for the battle ahead, buoyed by Kadia's admiration for his prowess. His diet, rich in mana-enriched sustenance, had catalyzed a surge in magical potency, instilling a glimmer of hope in their hearts. Yet, amidst the fray, caution prevailed. He cautioned Kadia against complacency, employing his allure and fortification abilities to ensnare the dragon's attention and deflect its onslaught. But the dragon's swiftness belied its size, and only through swift reflexes did you manage to parry its blows with the deerhorn weapon. Still, the situation teetered on the brink of peril. Coming to his aid, Kadia deftly sliced through the dragon's scales, a momentary triumph that kindled hope. However, the dragon's retaliatory speed posed a formidable challenge. Observing the crimson hue of the dragon's blood, he couldn't help but marvel, momentarily distracted by the unexpected sight. Amidst their relentless assault, the dragon remained formidable, its resilience daunting. Yu's instincts warned of impending danger as the dragon's focus shifted towards Kadia. Shouting a desperate warning, he urged her to retreat just in time, narrowly evading the dragon's wrath. Yet, the dragon's fiery breath loomed ominously, its intensity beyond the reach of his protective abilities. As they regrouped, you proposed a daring plan, met with Kadia's apprehension. Yet, in the absence of viable alternatives, he pressed on, the urgency of their plight leaving little room for debate. With their roles exchanged, they launched a coordinated assault, exploiting the dragon's familiarity with their tactics. The twin-bladed sword fashioned from deer horns proved a formidable weapon capable of breaching the dragon's formidable defenses. Yet, the spectre of the dragon's counterattack loomed large, a reminder of the peril inherent in their gambit. Forging ahead, you aimed for the creature's heart, drawing on his knowledge of anatomy gleaned from his experience in the wilderness. Though his strike found its mark, the dragon's resilience defied expectation. As flames engulfed him, he resigned himself to his fate until a sudden surge of determination propelled him from the inferno's grasp. Clara's anguished cries spurred him on, as Kadia, undeterred, hurled herself into the fray to save him. Rising from the ashes, he beseeched Kadia for time, the urgency of their mission weighing heavily upon them. With Kadia's valiant sacrifice buying him a precious reprieve, he steeled himself for the final confrontation. And as Kadia channeled her magic in a desperate bid for victory, he stood in awe of her unwavering resolve, ready to face whatever trials lay ahead. As their chances hovered above absolute zero, they stood resolute, refusing to yield. Even concocting strange justifications for their defiance, Clara offered up prayers as they confronted the dragon head-on. Now, it was time to devise a strategy. Knowing you possessed a sturdier defense than Kadia, he volunteered to draw the beast's attention up front, though Kadia found the risk alarming. Despite the danger, they saw no superior alternative. Reluctantly, Kadia acquiesced, and Clara summoned you, presenting him with the weapon he crafted, a spear fashioned from a deer's horn. As he grasped it, Clara assured him of its enchanted strength, her eyes glistening with tears. Faced with her unwavering resolve, he had no recourse but to promise his best effort. As the dragon roared once more, they sprang into action. Clara was instructed to retreat to safety while you engaged the dragon, diverting its focus as planned. Kadia, meanwhile, sought an opening. You steeled himself for the battle ahead, buoyed by Kadia's admiration for his prowess. His diet, rich in mana-enriched sustenance, had catalyzed a surge in magical potency, instilling a glimmer of hope in their hearts. Yet, amidst the fray, caution prevailed. he cautioned Kadia against complacency, employing his allure and fortification abilities to ensnare the dragon's attention and deflect its onslaught. But the dragon's swiftness belied its size, and only through swift reflexes did you manage to parry its blows with the deerhorn weapon. Still, the situation teetered on the brink of peril. Coming to his aid, Kadia deftly sliced through the dragon's scales, a momentary triumph that kindled hope. However, the dragon's retaliatory speed posed a formidable challenge. Observing the crimson hue of the dragon's blood, he couldn't help but marvel, momentarily distracted by the unexpected sight. Amidst their relentless assault, the dragon remained formidable, its resilience daunting. Yu's instincts warned of impending danger as the dragon's focus shifted towards Kadia. Shouting a desperate warning, he urged her to retreat just in time, narrowly evading the dragon's wrath. Yet the dragon's fiery breath loomed ominously, its intensity beyond the reach of his protective abilities. As they regrouped, Yu proposed a daring plan, met with Kaia's apprehension. Yet, in the absence of viable alternatives, he pressed on, the urgency of their plight leaving little room for debate. With their roles exchanged, they launched a coordinated assault, exploiting the dragon's familiarity with their tactics. The twin-bladed sword fashioned from deer horns proved a formidable weapon capable of breaching the dragon's formidable defenses. Yet, the specter of the dragon's counterattack loomed large, a reminder of the peril inherent in their gambit. Forging ahead, Yu aimed for the creature's heart, drawing on his knowledge of anatomy gleaned from his experience in the wilderness. Though his strike found its mark, the dragon's resilience defied expectation. As flames engulfed him, he resigned himself to his fate, until a sudden surge of determination propelled him from the inferno's grasp. Clara's anguished cries spurred him on, as Kadia, undeterred, hurled herself into the fray to save him. Rising from the ashes, he beseeched Katata for time, the urgency of their mission weighing heavily upon them. With Kaia's valiant sacrifice buying him a precious reprieve, he steeled himself for the final confrontation. And as Kadia channeled her magic in a desperate bid for victory, he stood in awe of her unwavering resolve, ready to face whatever trials lay ahead. As he stood there, a surge of great power swirled within his body, a power he had never thought he could awaken. But now, in this moment, he could feel it. Gripping the harpoon tightly, he motioned for Kadia to join him in their attack. Together, they launched themselves at their foe, striking him simultaneously. The dragon, weary from battle, let out one final roar before succumbing to death. You could hardly contain your thrill at the victory, while Kadia stood in shock at their success against such formidable odds. As the fire crackled and the scent of dragon meat filled the air, Kadia couldn't help but voice her curiosity about the battle. However, you were more interested in the meat itself. Its moistness seemed to draw the blade in, and even in its raw state, there was a tantalizing aroma. Kadia explains that dragons were omnivores, drawn to plants abundant in manner which likely contributed to the fragrance of the meat. Despite its appeal, there were few edible parts, with the limbs being notably tough. Settling into a safe spot, you offered to answer some questions. Kadia was puzzled about how you survived the dragon's flame, to which you explained your use of foam for insulation. This led to further confusion about your newfound power, which seemed to awaken when you were at your limit, resonating with the deer horn spear. Kadia, perplexed by your abilities, questioned whether eating could truly enhance one's powers. Clara chimed in, stating that eating was typically for healing, not increasing mana. However, she admired your diverse abilities and thanked you for being yourself. As they savored the dragon steak you cooked, the girls marveled at its taste, an experience they could never have imagined. Despite the lack of utensils, the meal was a memorable one, a precious experience in their mountainous lives. With bellies full and spirits high, they continued their journey, eventually reaching Clara's village. Relieved that the ordeal was over, you couldn't help but feel a sense of apprehension for what lay ahead, but for now, they were safe. Back at Clara's house, amidst Clara's relief and Kaia's newfound courage, you reflected on the day's events. Despite Clara's scolding from her father, you couldn't deny the gratitude expressed by her parents for saving their daughter. And as the night settled in, sitting together at the table, you couldn't help but feel a sense of camaraderie and accomplishment, grateful for the bonds forged in the face of adversity. Clara mentioned that her spirit might have been crushed if it weren't for the delectable cuisine you whipped up. She graciously thanked you for all you had done, causing you to feel a bit bashful. The conversation then shifted, with Kadia inquiring about your future plans. Similarly, Kadia was asked the same question, to which she replied that she was contemplating returning to Marus tomorrow. You mentioned that she was considering heading to the Badlands. There was a prolonged silence afterward, during which you remarked that your situation was quite complicated. In this world, you lacked a place to call home, which led to your inclination to embark on a journey. As you pondered your destination, the idea of the Badlands, once mentioned by Kadia, lingered in your mind. Kadia cautioned about the formidable monsters inhabiting the Badlands, but you saw it as an opportunity to explore unique ingredients and flavors. Kadia intervened, expressing her reservations about the Badlands due to her own experiences as a temple knight. Despite her concerns, she pledged her support as a friend, urging you to adequately prepare, especially concerning passage permissions. She offered her assistance with the necessary procedures. Turning to Clara, she encouraged her to voice her intentions. Clara affirmed her desire to accompany you, revealing her origins as a foundling with rare silver hair, possibly linking her to the extinct Mayu tribe, known for their mastery of magic. You listened, processing the revelations about Clara's heritage and her wish to embark on a journey of self-discovery alongside you. Though hesitant to expose her to danger, you ultimately accepted her request, provided her parents consented. With a tight embrace, Clara sealed your agreement, setting their path. First, Clara would focus on her recovery, then secure her parents' permission. Kadia announced her departure for Marus, urging you both to join her once preparations were complete. Prayers for safety were exchanged, solidifying their resolve to reunite in Marus. In the following chapter, you and Clara made necessary arrangements and arrived in Marus, marveling at the city's stone architecture, a stark contrast to your previous experiences. Intrigued by the local food culture, Clara suggested sampling the cuisine before meeting with Kadia, prompting the need for funds. Though uncertain of the value, you possessed dragon claws, which attracted the attention of a merchant. Negotiations ensued, resulting in a lucrative offer for the claws. Overjoyed by the unexpected wealth, you entertained the idea of crafting a knife from the remaining claw. Before departing, a confrontation with a suspicious individual led to a display of your dragon flame ability, sparking rumors of a dragon's presence in town. Oblivious to the commotion, you and Clara stumbled upon a peculiar house, debating whether to enter. Upon entering, you encountered a grumpy yet intrigued artisan who recognized the significance of the dragon claw. Despite skepticism regarding your dragon encounter, he agreed to craft a knife, sensing something special about you. With a promise to return in a week, you left, envisioning the knife's functionality. At the market, you were captivated by the array of fresh produce, igniting culinary inspiration. Clara teasingly remarked on your cooking thoughts, prompting a blush as you contemplated future creations. As the beads of sweat dripped down his forehead and he attempted to regain his composure, he couldn't help but avert his gaze momentarily. His curiosity piqued. He noticed an intriguing item on the stand and inquired about it. The vendor proudly identified the exotic fruit as nag fruits, boasting of their luscious sweetness and rich flavor. Finding the couple before him endearing, he generously offered them a sample, which they accepted with flushed cheeks and grateful smiles. The nag fruit, with its delicate sweetness and slightly sticky texture, tantalized their taste buds with hints of citrus. Pondering whether these fruits were dried or dehydrated, the vendor explained their origin in arid regions. Though already sated, the couple couldn't resist the temptation for one more indulgence. Thus, they savored Amen, a stewed potato seasoned with garam, relishing its salty yet fluffy texture. Impressed by their appreciation of his culinary creations, the vendor shared his lament over the sparse foot traffic and mundane appearance of his shop. Regrettably, he often found himself discarding unsold food, a distressing waste. However, he believed in the enduring allure of good food and was open to adapting to changing tastes, especially for younger clientele. Inspired by their conversation, the vendor improvised a novel side dish of thinly sliced potatoes, fried to golden perfection and seasoned to enhance their flavor. The resulting potato chips left both Clara and the man astounded by their simplicity yet deliciousness. Recognizing the potential for such innovations to appeal to a broader audience, the man was grateful for the unexpected collaboration. As they bid farewell and continued their journey, the vendor seized the opportunity to promote his newfound creation, quickly attracting a crowd eager to taste his innovative potato chips with Amen. Meanwhile, Clara and the protagonist arrived at the revered Zemple, marveling at its grandeur. Although initially met with skepticism by the Guardian, Clara's insistence on meeting Kadia prompted a call to the esteemed figure. Surprised by the use of the honorific Sama for Kadia, they speculated on her significance within the hierarchy. Upon meeting Ti, their initial plans were momentarily sidelined by her joyous embrace and eagerness to spend time together. However, her elation was soon tempered by a troubling realization. She had inadvertently mentioned the protagonist to her boss, prompting a request for a meeting. Reluctantly, they agreed to meet with Archbishop Randall Demetrius, despite their reservations about the sudden summons. As they navigated the temple's corridors, they encountered guardians repenting for their earlier discourtesy, a reminder of the hierarchical protocols governing such encounters. Entering the bishop's chamber, they were instructed by Kadia to observe proper decorum, signaling the formality of the impending meeting. Archbishop Randall, though youthful in appearance, exuded authority as he expressed gratitude for their previous deeds and extended apologies for the abrupt summons. However, his demeanor shifted unexpectedly, revealing a more playful side as he lamented the rigidity of his fellow knights and expressed genuine curiosity about the protagonist's abilities. Despite attempts at deference, Randall encouraged honesty and genuine self-expression. Chastised by Kadia for their hesitation, the protagonist finally introduced themselves, emphasizing their passion for cooking and gastronomy. Randall's keen interest in their culinary prowess hinted at deeper motivations behind the meeting, leaving them intrigued yet apprehensive about what lay ahead. Randall attempted to ease the discomfort by reassuring him that it was merely a personal interest and that he had no intentions of exploiting his power. He then broached the topic of unfamiliarity with the concept of skills, explaining that it was a term of convenience without an official designation yet. Despite their lack of knowledge, Randall expressed a willingness to elucidate further. He likened skills to the enigmatic powers possessed by demons, insinuating that they were unique abilities not replicable by magic. Demetrius chimed in, praising Yu's remarkable skill of identifying edible items and their poisonous nature, highlighting its potential to alleviate concerns about starvation. Demetrius, intrigued by I's skill, proposed supporting his journey to the polar region, emphasizing the need for travel permissions and financial backing. Additionally, he suggested another girl accompany them, prompting curiosity from Yu about the rationale behind Demetrius's generosity to strangers. Demetrius philosophized about the significance of skills, attributing them to human potential and lauding individuals guided by diligence. Despite the varying utility of skills, Demetrius admired Yu's determination to forge a better future. Yu, inspired by Demetrius's words, acknowledged their shared enthusiasm for exploration. After their discussion, Kadia expressed concern about potential complications arising from another traveler joining them, but ultimately trusted her ability to handle any issues. With their plans taking shape, they deliberated on their destination, with Kadia offering insights into the polar region's extreme environments and the allure of the White Desert. As they ventured outside, Yu adopted a pragmatic approach to shopping, mindful of their limited resources and the need for essential items. Despite Demetrius's willingness to fund their purchases, Yu emphasized the importance of restraint to avoid overburdening themselves. They procured provisions for their journey, including nuts, dried wild vegetables, and an amulet said to ward off evil spirits. In the midst of their preparations, Clara questioned Yu's intention to consume the peculiar-smelling amulet, to which he remained unperturbed, confident in his choices. As they continued their shopping excursion, they embraced the anticipation and excitement of their upcoming adventure, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. He wasn't sure if his plan would pan out as expected. The seller was taken aback when he mentioned his intention to use the item for consumption, given its terrible smell. Nonetheless, they ended up purchasing a substantial amount of items, with Demetrius's support proving invaluable in averting potential financial strain. The cost turned out higher than anticipated, but the locally sourced goods left them with little recourse. Mass production wasn't a concept embraced in this world, where adventure and magic held sway, occasionally inducing feelings of isolation. Among the purchases, a steel rod and board caught their attention. The seller offered to demonstrate its use, sparking excitement. Astonishment ensued when they realized it was a fire starter, a novelty in this realm, made of a rare metal called phium, akin to magnesium. It surpassed traditional flint in efficiency. With Clara and her friends lacking expertise, the seller assured them they could master fire starting with a bit of practice. Inquiring about its origin, the seller, once an adventurer himself, recounted encountering a similar metal in polar regions. He procured some and commissioned a fabricator to craft the tools. This world, though culturally medieval, retained a spirit of exploration, fostering innovation reminiscent of modern survival gear. Motivated by the encounter, they returned to the inn, eager for dinner and further adventures. Days later, greeted respectfully by the guardians, they were surprised by Yu's unease. However, with Kaya's reassurance, they met Archbishop Demetrius and a new acquaintance, Alicia Wei, a young girl with a unique ability. Demetrius revealed Alicia's acquired skill of inducing slumber, a result of secretive experimentation. Angered by the revelation, Kaya questioned Demetrius's motives. He explained Alicia's potential and sought their aid in exposing her to the wider world, despite the risks. Concerned yet intrigued, they accepted Demetrius's proposition, acknowledging the complexity of the situation. Alicia, despite her past, embraced the opportunity, leaving Demetrius relieved. As they prepared for their journey, doubts lingered about Demetrius's allegiances, yet his genuine intentions swayed their judgment. In 3 days, they convened at the swordsmanship shop where Yu received the meticulously crafted dragon's claw. Overwhelmed by its craftsmanship, they marveled at the weapon's beauty, marking the beginning of their epic adventure.